There are 12 ways the S23 Ultra is better than the iPhone 14 Pro, and 12 reasons I'm genuinely switching from iPhone to Android and the S23 Ultra. Now first up are finally the cameras. On the S23 Ultra, we do of course have some crazy specs, the 10 times telephoto lens, 200 megapixel images on the main lens, and 100 times space zoom to let you creep from a distance. And it can take the best photos of the moon of any other smartphone. But whilst these are all impressive stats and features, the thing that's done it for me has actually, for the first time, been that I actually prefer the images on the S23 Ultra over the iPhone. Now the images themselves are more balanced with better colours, better detail, and video I'd also say is now on par with the iPhone. And the range of camera modes just makes it fun to use my phone's camera once again. Number 2 is another surprise for I think all of us this year, the battery life. When the iPhone 14 Pro Max launched, we all knew that was probably the new battery king, only to discover that it was worse than the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But now, my S23 Ultra has significantly better battery life than my iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now I've been getting consistently 6 to 7+ hours of screen on time on a single charge, which is enough to get me through 2 days in some cases. And that's with all of the features enabled, the always on display, quad HD resolution, 120Hz display. I'm not even trying to conserve battery, compared to the iPhone, which now struggles to get through even a single day, and that's with me even switching off some features to try and make it last longer. Because number 3 is that always on display. Like honestly, this is mostly because the iPhone 14's battery life is hampered so much when you use the always on display, but I've come to love having a simple, clean and minimal always on display on my S23 Ultra that doesn't drain the battery. You can also customize your always on display more than Apple's version to personalize it to how you like. But overall, I actually use the always on display on the S23 Ultra and I end up switching it off on my iPhone. Speaking of customization, this is undoubtedly the S23 Ultra and Android in general's absolute party trick. The ability to customize pretty much everything on this phone is what I've been enjoying so much. Take my home screen for example. I have way less icons on here than I do with my iPhone, but I can pretty much do all of the same actions. I can tap to open my Tesla app for example, but if I swipe up on my Tesla app, it opens a completely different app, one that I don't need an icon on my home screen for. Now same with my social media, tapping will launch Twitter, but swiping up will launch LinkedIn. And you can take it even further with gestures, so I can just double tap on my home screen and it launches my favorite VPN service. Now there are so many, you can just double tap and swipe down or double tap and swipe up, 2-finger swipe, pinch, there is just so many customization features you can do here. And that's not forgetting the other customization features. You can change the shape, the size of the icons, you can load custom icon packs to totally change the look of your phone. And so far, it's been one of the most fun things to do with this phone. So no longer do I need a cluttered home screen full of app icons like on the iPhone. Number 4. Dynamic Island. What a waste of space. I love that the S23 Ultra has this pinhole camera, and whilst I do miss having Face ID, the extra screen real estate that you get from having a tiny camera up there just makes the screen look so much cleaner in my opinion. But once you get used to the pinhole camera on the S23, the notch or the Dynamic Island actually becomes a bit of an eyesore, even though you can do some pretty cool things with it about 10% of the time. You also do get Face Unlock with the S23 Ultra, but as it's not as secure as Face ID, if you see the warnings here, it does say that someone with a similar likeness or maybe a photo would be able to unlock your phone. So I just go with the underscreen fingerprint sensor instead, and that works really fast and you get used to unlocking it that way fairly quickly. Number 5 is Secure Folder. Now this is a great feature that I'm surprised iOS doesn't have, given its privacy first approach. If you want to store anything away from prying eyes, maybe it's confidential information, apps, maybe your saucy kitty cat photos, whatever it might be, you can lock all of these away in the secure folder, which you can then protect with fingerprint or passcode, and makes this pretty damn secure. So if you have apps on your phone that you don't want your kids to get access to, or maybe some Word documents that you should be kept away from the rest of your data, this is a great place to store them. Now here is a way to really show off the power of the S23 Ultra with the battery sharing feature. Now this is a common feature built into most Android phones, but not the iPhone. Simply enable the battery share feature, flip your phone upside down, now you can charge any wireless device, including an iPhone or AirPods, or even a Galaxy Watch, if mine wasn't all smashed, but not a Pixel Watch. Weird. Chances are with an S23 Ultra, you'll still have plenty of battery at the end of every day, so why not help those out who didn't go with the better option anyway? Speaking of better options, Number 7 is rumoured to be coming to an end with Apple soon in their ridiculous stubbornness with the Lightning port. Now finally, now I'm on the S23 Ultra, I don't have to carry around a second charger that's specific to one device, well, except for this Apple Watch. But with USB-C, I can now carry around one charger and one cable, and I can charge all of my devices, my phone, my laptop, my Whoop strap, my cameras. It's crazy that iPhones haven't yet switched, and I really hope they do when it comes to the iPhone 15. But one thing the iPhone cannot compete with is the S Pen. Now I'd argue this is the dynamic island of the S23 Ultra. You either use it all the time and appreciate it for what it is, or you never use it and wonder why it just takes up so much space all the time. Maybe let me know down in the comments if you either use it or if you think it's just a waste of space. But love it or hate it, it does have some genuinely awesome use cases. Use it as a remote trigger for taking photos, so you no longer have to take selfies with your arm like sticking out and holding the phone out. You can make quick notes or doodles. I've even seen this being a great option for when you go to the gym and you can just make notes on your workout plan as you go. I think that's a really great way to use this. And then combine this with DeX, where you can connect your phone into a monitor and connect a keyboard and mouse, and your phone now turns into an absolute productivity and multitasking powerhouse. Write up documents, respond to emails, browse the web, all on this large screen and all powered by that super efficient Snapdragon Gen 2 chip. Again, this is one of those we'll probably hardly ever use it features for me, but it is crazy to see how much power this has on a phone. You arguably get more use out of this than you do when connecting, say, an iPad to an external screen with their weird Stage Manager software, so it is great to see Samsung are sticking with DeX after all these years. Number 10. This is one that frustrates me constantly with Apple. With the S23 Ultra, I can go into any app, go to upload a photo, and I can choose where the photo I want to upload is stored. It doesn't matter if it's local on the device, in Google Photos, Dropbox, or anywhere else, I can get to all of those from here. Over in iPhone land, you are significantly restricted to just the Photos app. So unless whatever you want to upload is already in there, you have to go through this really lengthy process of opening up the app itself, saving the file locally to your device, which then shows up in Photos, then go back to the app and upload it now that it's stored in your Photos app. Now, as someone that uses a ton of file sharing apps, this is a really great feature for the S23 and S23 Ultra. Performance is next, and my oh my, did we all get a surprise this year. There's no more Exynos chip. It is the Snapdragon Gen 2 in every S23 and S23 Ultra phone. And this has brought itself bang up to speed with the iPhone 14 Pro and probably then some. Now this was my biggest complaint about the S22 Ultra because of that half-baked Exynos chip, so it is great to finally be able to see what everyone else has been going on about after all these years. Now this phone is rapid. I've not had a single slowdown, lag, stutter, or even actually any bugs to speak of whilst I've been using this phone since launch. So if you want to game on or browse social or just use as a phone, the Snapdragon Gen 2 won't let you down at all. Number 12, this is the one you can tease iPhone users with, the SIM tray. We get one, they don't. And that makes it a whole lot easier to switch when you want to trade your S23 Ultra in for whatever comes next.